I am back. Mac Engel, Fort Worth Star Telegram. I hope you did not miss me too much here for another episode of Cowboys Overtime on StarTelegram.com, sponsored by Window Nation, joined by my good friend who owns 3 outfits, Mr. Clarence E. Hill Jr. Clarence is in stop, please. You're in California, where it is approximately a high of 75 degrees. I'm in Fort Worth, Texas, where the high is approximately 175 degrees. So I'm not really looking forward to talking to you right now. Okay, go ahead.
First of all, where did you come from? Don't do that. You don't. Where were you last week?
Child of God. You asked me where I came from. I came from God. We don't need to where I was.
Were you last week? Where were you vacationing?
It was a long time ago. I'm a different person. You know what I mean? We've all moved on. That was a long time ago. We don't even.
Where were you vacationing? I had the great George Teague in here.
You had George. That was an upgrade over me.
Yeah,
let's keep George on. George is the best.
Yeah, we had George Teague, the defender of the star, talking all things Cowboys camp as we got started without you. But now you're back. I don't know if you've been doing your little homework. What have you learned? Have you not read anything? Have you read me?
Actually, you know what? Yeah, believe it. I would say my batting average about reading your Cowboys coverage is probably in the 80-90 percentile. Seriously?
Normally.
No, it is because, obviously, you and I work together. We've known each other for a long time. If I want to know what's going on with the Cowboys, you do as good a job as anybody, so I'm obviously going to read you. But you asked me where I was. I was across the pond. I went to Portugal.
Portugal,
which I cannot recommend strongly enough because unlike so many places that we want a vacation these days, it is extremely moderately priced. I didn't expect that. It was neat. I've been to Europe a lot, but I've never been to Portugal. I got a chance to take our daughter. That was really neat. She liked it. Did not go surfing. We did go kayaking, and we didn't die, much to the chagrin of many people who I owe money to. It seems to be a growing list, by the way. I'm sure you can understand that. But I was gone for 8 or 9 or 10 days, whatever it is. So, Clarence, what did I? It seems like I missed a lot because the Cowboys started training camp with Jerry Jones, who held court. So, why don't you just give me the little Reader's Digest TikTok version of what I missed?
I mean, it's so much. It's so much, and it's funny because it's always so much. You start camp, and it's just like it's stories and news and everything just comes at you. So let's recap Jerry Jones' week of ambiguity.
What is your theory? Jerry's got a whole list of words that he likes, and ambiguity. He usually combines the vowels. Ambiguity. Yes. So what is Jerry Jones being ambiguous about now?
Well, it's just the season, the team. There's so much uncertainty. And you talk about the contracts of the coach and the quarterback and receiver, the unknown future of the season, and what's going to happen after the season. So they have holes, they have decisions that need to be made going into the season, decisions to be made after the season. He has a tolerance for ambiguity. He doesn't need to know everything right now, even though Mike McCarthy would like to know and his family would like to know if he's going to be here next year. And all this other stuff. A lot of people, the Cowboys fans, like to know, if you got all your guys, you're going to sign guys. What's the future of Dak and CeeDee? And a lot of people would like to know, have some certainty about this team and about the future of this team. So that was part of the week that actually began with Jerry Jones and Texarkana in the middle of a paternity case that suddenly got settled on day 2, right before he was scheduled to.
Miracle.
Testify.
Lord works in mysterious ways once again.
And every other court issue related to that case got suddenly dropped, which allowed him to come to training camp on time because it was supposed to be delayed coming to training camp. And then then you got Dak and again Dak and CeeDee and Micah Parsons and the whole week of camp and whole talk about their contracts, but. Just getting back to the ambiguity of the season, I mean, this is a season when the Cowboys, I would say, with more than 30 guys who are free agents who are in their last year of the contract, the whole coaching staff in the last year of the contract, the expectations are still up here. But so
really? Do you think they are, Clarence?
So is the ambiguity. I mean, it's
let me backtrack. The expectations are here. who's setting the expectations for the Cowboys to be here other than Jerry and Charlotte?
I mean,
I think
what
anybody.
I'm saying is Mike McCarthy's job is on the line. If he takes a step back, he's gone. If he does the same, he's gone. So just from the coaching staff, the expectations is not do what you did last year, but go further than you did last year so I can have a job next year. That's that's unwritten. I mean, that's what it is.
If they go 12, let's say they go 11-6, and God, this is pie in the sky, drug induced stupor. But let's say they go 11-6, they get to the divisional round and they lose by 3. Pick your opponent: Seattle, Green Bay, Chicago, San Francisco again. It's a great game, and they barely lose after an 11-6 season. They get to the divisional round, and they lose in a close game. Do you really think Mike McCarthy's not going to come back after that kind of season?
After the Cowboys not getting to the playoffs for the 29th straight, I'm not getting to the NC Championship game for the 29th straight season. That's what you're asking me? I think I'll bet you off. I don't know. I think Mike McCarthy's done a great job.
So do I. So do I. I don't think anybody. Add this to the list of things that I got wrong. Mike McCarthy, Jason Garrett did a pretty good job. He did a pretty good job. And anybody who says otherwise is fooling themselves. He did a pretty good job. And Mike McCarthy has done a better job. And to sit there and say otherwise is inaccurate. Both things are true. They have neither one of them have been good enough. That's also true. And I think there's one thing that we have missed on this, and I wanted to ask you about it because a member of the Cowboys said this to me, the front office staff a couple of weeks ago. Is like, we all missed on this all-in thing. This all-in thing wasn't about going and spending a bunch of money on free agents. This all-in thing is about basically, this is our last deal. We're going to do 1 year for everybody else and see if it works. And if not, then we'll revisit everything. That's what Jerry really meant by all in. Now, that might be revisionist history definition, just changing the definition. But does that fly with you? Does that mark with you in terms of the all in is more about everybody?
Jerry's come back and reaffirmed all in, to start a training camp. I'm all in. I'm all in. I'm all in to try to win right now. Even though in April he wasn't, you put that on my neck, Clarence. I didn't mean it that way. Now he's back in all in. And so
what does it mean then? I've got my own definition of what all in.
Well, everybody has their own definition. The bottom line is that from the beginning and even now, it's all in to try to win this year, even though on paper and in action, you haven't done anything to be all in. You didn't do anything in free agency. You haven't signed Dak. You haven't been all in. But all in is what you're supposed to be. And I guess that you have a chance to get all in. But to put a win on this for being all in is not about the future. It's not about 2025 or 2026. It's about winning now, because that's all that's promised for Mike McCarthy, the entire coaching staff, and many of these players.
Okay, so you refuted a report by, I don't know who it was, that CeeDee Lamb has agreed to a monster contract extension. I don't even know who put it out there, but you came out in Twitter and said that's not true, that this deal is not done. And I certainly believe you, because if it was done, it'd be done. And it's not. And what you made clear is that both sides are talking to complete a contract for CeeDee Lamb. It will probably be in the neighborhood of Justin Jefferson. And while we're at it, we can talk Dak Prescott's contract extension as well. Mike Florio of Pro Football Talk threw this out yesterday. He throws a lot of things out, but one of them that he threw out is that the only reasons these aren't done, and specifically as it relates to CeeDee Lamb and Micah Parsons, is that Jerry Jones is just being cheap. I don't buy that, but Clarence, why aren't these done? We're almost in August. Why aren't these done?
Well, I wouldn't say Jerry's cheap. Not
what
he's been.
Florio said that, not me.
Yeah, I know. A lot of people said that. I think Dan Orlovsky came out today and called Jerry cheap as well, from ESPN. But he's not cheap to his star players. Now,
nope.
He's a bargain basement shopper for agency. He's trying to, do all of that stuff. But his star players generally get paid. His issue is trying to win every deal, trying to be the smartest man in the room. I know this. I know the NFL salary cap. I know the future. He knows everything, and trying to be the smartest guy in the room ultimately has him end up paying more and has his players frustrated and has you in an environment right now, like right now when you have all this uncertainty.
Is that Jerry driving the boat on that, or is that Steven? My impression was that was more of a Steven deal than a Jerry deal.
Well, I mean, I think it's both of them. At this point, Jerry's the one who makes the ultimate decision. He's the one who finalizes everything. So he and Steven work hand in hand on this stuff. But just going back to the CeeDee deal, somebody reported that CeeDee was closing in on a 4-year contract between 136 and 138. Both sides of the aisle told me no, that's not true. And that's all I said, and so people all are up in arms because Cowboy fans want a deal done. They want CeeDee in camp. They're excited about getting the deal done. And to me, it's irresponsible to report things that are not true, especially as it relates to these contracts. And anything can happen. Yes, they're talking. They gave us the Cowboys sent them a new offer Friday or Saturday, and they're talking to the agent. We all know it's going to be in the neighborhood of Justin Jefferson deal, so it's going to be $34-35 million annually. But the deal is not done, and according to people on both sides of the aisle, it's not close to being done. And I think the same thing with Dak. I think the Cowboys more than ever want to get a deal done with Dak. There's no question about it. They don't want to sit and wait, let's see what he does in the playoffs. They don't want to get on that quarterback abyss. You remember the quarterback abyss between Troy Aikman and Tony Romo. And they looked into Tony Romo just like they looked into Dak Prescott. They tried to draft quarterbacks and it failed, and they tried to do other ways to get superstar quarterbacks. They fell into these guys, and I don't think Jerry is looking to go into 2025 trying to find a quarterback. When they know they have one, and there's no guarantee you're going to get one better than Dak, who right now, I don't care what list you's on, he's a top 10, top 8 quarterback in the NFL, if not top 5, depending on the guy just finished second in NFL MVP balloting. That you can't just get that on the street. So
has anything changed? When we talked a couple weeks ago, I think I set the over-under on the CeeDee Lamb contract at like August 15th. Will it be done before then?
Well, I think so. Yeah.
Okay.
I think within the next week you'll get CeeDee done. That's what they want to do, and they're talking, and they want to get it done. So
they want to get it done. And now the next one, I would imagine, Dak Prescott will get done before Micah Parsons, won't he?
Well, yeah, Micah Parsons not going to get done until next year.
Okay, so now the question about Dak.
Micah's not forcing his deal right now.
Okay, so there's no need. There's no need. So then the question regarding Dak Prescott is, does it get done before or during the season?
I think it gets done before the season. I think it gets done before we get out of camp.
All right.
I think it gets done before we get out of camp.
All right, we got a lot more to talk about here on Cowboys Overtime, especially the loss, a season-ending loss of a significant player for the defense. But first, a word from our friends at Window Nation.
Window Nation, the star of window replacement and proud partner of the Dallas Cowboys, can help you fill the house this season with savings. Buy 2 windows, get 2 free, and make no interest payments for 60 months, 5 full years. Fill your house for a customized authentic Dallas Cowboys jersey while supplies last. You could even help fill the Cowboys house and win tickets to a game. Visit windownation.com/Cowboys now for details. Call 866-95-NATION. Window Nation, proud partner of the Dallas Cowboys.
Aha! Thank you very much, Window Nation. Clarence Hill, he's on the other side of the screen. I'm Mac Engel, Fort Worth Star Telegram. Cowboys Overtime. Clarence, I can't believe it, but I can totally believe it. It didn't take but 5 minutes for fall camp to start, and already the Cowboys have suffered a devastating loss on the defense. Sam Williams, a defensive end linebacker out of Ole Miss, entering his 3rd season, blew out his ACL in, pretty minimal contact drill. He's gone. Set the scene for me. What was that scene like when they carted him off? Did people kind of know immediately, or was it just a casual hope that maybe it was a minor injury and nothing as catastrophic as this?
No, they immediately feared the worst. I mean, they hope for the best, but they did like, well, let's just make sure, the test confirmed what they're thinking. They're waiting to get an MRI, but they fear the worst from the beginning. It didn't look good. That's all Jerry and Cowboys personnel were talking about. It didn't look good. It didn't look good. Doesn't look good. And huge setback. And it's just part of the game. They had 3 ACLs in the preseason last year, and it happens to do it in a non-contact drill, no pads on, first week of camp. That's why football is so cruel. Here's a guy, former second-round pick, who did get a lot of playing time, much as he wanted the last couple of years because he was playing behind Doris Armstrong and Dante Fowler. This year, the Cowboys were really expecting Sam to be a part of the rotation, and they're going to use him a lot with the starters as they use. We're going to plan to use Michael Parsons more than linebacker. There's some different things, but he was going to be on the field a lot. He was part of the rotation. The guy is a great athlete, big guy who was such a fast and good athlete. They had him as a gunner on special teams last year. It's just a matter of channeling that athletic energy and focus so he can be more disciplined. He's an undisciplined player, but Mike Zimmer was going to help him. His team was going to help him. His coaching staff was going to help him get to that level. And to not be able to do that, it's a huge setback. The Cowboys are going to count even more on second-round pick Marshawn Nealand to come in, and they really liked him to come in and really fill some of those roles. There's some other guys on the roster. I anticipate the Cowboys will also look at pass rushing, defensive end help in free agency.
What about we talked about ACLs in preseason? We had one. The Cowboys had one last year that you mentioned without name, the rookie from UT, DeMarvion Overshawn. Thank you. How has he looked so far? Because I think this was a guy that a lot of people had some real hope for, and obviously missed the entire last season. How's he looked?
Oh, he looked great. He's looked great. He's been, they're being conscious with him like they are with all the guys, but he's looked great, and so he's back, and they're bringing back Trevon Diggs slowly, but he's good, and it feels good. He actually ran a race with Michael Parsons the other day.
Who won?
Parsons.
I'm sorry. The fact that he's out running backs and wide receivers and defensive backs just reaffirms what an athletic freak that guy is.
Yes. Give me 1 second. My battery is dying. So just kind of filibuster.
You want me to filibuster here?
Yeah, tell people about your trip. Tell people about your hair. Tell people about your makeup.
Well, probably
you got your hair colored.
My hair is staying. I am deaf. So Clarence's phone is dying. The guy's a total pro. I don't know how he manages to do it. He knows that we're going to do this the entire time. And instead of charging his phone for this Window Nation Cowboys Overtime, he's like, yeah, screw it. Let's just roll the dice and see if it dies. And now it's at 1%, which is really terrifying because if you get down to 1%, that means it's going to shut off. And if it's shut off, we may not hear from Clarence for another couple of weeks because that's how long it takes. Trip was fantastic. I'm excited about the Cowboys. I'm excited about the season that's getting ready to start for the Big 12 and the SEC and the ACC, because the ACC is going to be in Texas this year because SMU will be playing conference rivals Stanford and Cal as part of that schedule. I can't even make that up. And the other big news that we've got before we join here, get back into the football conversation, Major League Baseball trade deadline is today, and that means the Texas Rangers will do something. They've made some minor moves. They added a catcher from the Tigers, but really where the Rangers are going to get better is from within, and that is guys coming back from the injured list, specifically third baseman Josh Young, who has missed most of the season for a variety of injuries. I'm really excited about that because I think he's probably the third best player on that team. And if he's right, then the Rangers have got a shot. If he's hurt again, then I think they're going to miss the playoffs. Okay, Clarence, are you sufficiently plugged in and semi-charged? For the
I was back at the beginning of your filibuster and your lies and all this other stuff. So
I'm sorry, you don't like these things that you called lies. Most people call them the truth. Okay, we talked about the loss of Sam Williams. Give me on a scale of 1 to 10. How bad is this loss? 10 being,
it's a huge loss. The Cowboys, they had
no, give me a number. Don't say huge. Give me 8, 9, 6.
That's your category. It's not my category.
Well, I'm asking you to do it.
I got to play your game. Don't play your little games. 8.
Thank you. Is that hard? Is it that hard?
Yes.
8. Okay, camp is here. That means the pads are on. I have questions. You have answers. There is a player here that really interests me. What are they doing with Trey Lance?
What do you mean? They're letting him play football. They're letting him practice football. He's going to practice football. He doesn't look great. He's not
best
great.
But what is the best? Play this out for me. The Cowboys sent San Francisco a 4th-round pick basically a year ago. because the 49ers gave up on the guy, even though he was the third overall pick a couple of years ago. He's barely played. Didn't do anything last season at all except collect a check, my dream job. And now this is the final year. Would they trade him this? Would they trade him this month? Or pardon me, next month? Is he going to sit on the bench behind Cooper Rush? What are we doing here with Trey Lance?
You know, the crazy part is all three quarterbacks in the last year of their deal: Dak, Cooper Rush, Trey Lance. Theoretically, the Cowboys could not have either one of them on the roster next year.
I love that.
The goal for Trey Lance is to compete with Cooper Rush for the backup job this year. Although, in my humble opinion, there's nothing Trey Lance can show you in preseason that will allow me to put him on the field in front of Cooper Rush if Dak went down in the regular season. Only because Cooper Rush has shown me he can win games.
Yep.
Trey Lance is not showing you that. You cannot show me enough in the preseason to tell me you could go out there and win games in the regular season.
Do you think he could do enough in the preseason? Because I did see what Mike McCarthy said, which was getting that guy on the field and playing him as a priority. Is there anything that you think he could do that would convince another team that needed a quarterback as a number two that would say, okay, we'll give you a fourth-round pick for him?
Well, first of all, no one's giving up a fourth-round pick. The only Cowboys were stupid enough to give a fourth-round pick in the first place. I mean, he was, the other teams were giving up six-round picks. Okay,
I'm sure he gave them a fourth.
So no one's giving them before the fourth. They could have used to draft a running back, I might add, which weren't able to do. But I mean, again, here's the guy, and I love the kid. I mean, nice guy. Good athlete. He didn't play a lot of football in high school.
Nope.
He didn't play quarterback most of his career. He doesn't have the 7-on-7 background a lot of these quarterbacks have. Didn't play a lot. Went to college and didn't play a lot there. He played a running offense, and he got set back by the pandemic. They shut down a season. He may have had 11 total starts in college and threw about 3 passes a game. There's just not a lot of time on task. Not a lot of time on task, to say what this guy can be. And it's tough. He didn't play a lot in San Francisco. He was injured and he got beat out. You look at some of the quarterbacks, the Bo Nixes and the quarterbacks that were drafted, they play way more football than Trey Lance. Way more. How do you project what he is and what he's going to be? I mean, clearly he was overdrafted by the 49ers.
For sure.
That's their fault. And the Cowboys doubled down on that by giving up a fourth-round pick to throw something against the wall to see if they can catch lightning in the bottle again, like Dak and Romo to a certain extent. But those guys all played more football than Trey Lance.
And, I think what we're realistically looking at is that the Cowboys did the 49ers a huge favor. And I don't know if this is the revenge of Charles Haley. Certainly nothing that disastrous for one team, for one side necessarily. But this is a hoodwink of a job because Trey Lance is going to come here, will have been on the bench for 2 seasons, collected a nice check. He will be a free agent after the season, and some other team will sign him. He will do nothing for the Cowboys in a regular season game other than collect a check. Zach Martin. Zach Martin addressed the media, and he kind of backtracked a previous interview that he did earlier this season where he kind of hinted that maybe this is the last year for Zach of a Pro Bowl and what will All-Pro and what will ultimately be a Hall of Fame and likely Ring of Honor career. Do you think this is the last year for Zach Martin, Clarence?
Well, I think it's something he's thinking about for sure. I mean, I think, last year he held out trying to get his money, and Zach is not a guy that wants to play 15 years. I don't think he needs to play 15 years. I think he's taking it year by year. But, and it depends on how this year turns out, for sure. This is the last year of his contract, so the Cowboys got to find a way, if it's not his last year, how do you get the deal done? Similar with Tyron Smith, who they let walk, after, his basic contract basically expired. But they have no replacement for him. I mean, the Cowboys would love for Zach to continue to play, but Zach knows his worth, and he's not going to play for chump change. He ain't coming back for no $6 million.
Nope.
He's not coming back for no $8 million.
No, he shouldn't.
He's still an all-pro level type player. So, It'll be interesting. But again, I think a lot of that depends on how this season goes.
Last player we'll talk about before we move on here, and that is the return of Zeke Elliott. Looks like a older, wiser version of Zeke. I noticed that he commented on the crowds were a little bit different at Oxnard than in previous years when he was with the team. Obviously he spent last season with New England. How's he look?
He looks fine. I mean, you're not going to get 2-time Super Bowl rushing champ Zeke, but he's going to be better than the Zeke the Cowboys last version of him in 2022 when he played basically with a knee injury. He's healthy from that. He's still going to be a battering ram. I mean, the Cowboys missed his 12 rushing touchdowns that he scored in 2022 and 2023. They needed that hammer down the goal line, but he looks fine. He again, not the 2-time rushing champ. The running back position, again, as a whole, I think has a chance to be a better running game just because you have better blocking up front, hopefully. But the big play is not there. There's no Tony Pollard. There's nobody that's going to take it to the house. The running between the 20 will be interesting because the big play is not there.
You think the running game is going to be better?
I said it has a chance to be, because you have better blocking. I think Guyton is going to be a better run blocker than Tyron Smith was. I think that Cooper Beebe is a better run blocker than Tyler Biadasz is. I mean, the blocking could be better.
All right.
And the run game could be better. Some of the things they're going to do.
Are you getting a check from the Cowboys? This is the dumbest thing I've ever heard come out of your mouth.
Did they have a great running game last year?
It's going to be a hell of a lot better than this. I want to see you get the pads on because I think you'll be better.
They didn't have a great running game last year.
The 20s and
they couldn't score near the goal line last year, remember?
I want to see you put the pads on. Give me that short-horn power inside the 5, and those are touchdowns. Watch these guys run around out there going on the cheap. If Mike Flory or anybody else wants to call Jerry Jones for being cheap, that's fine. And he was about this position. And it is going to bite them in the rear end on multiple occasions this season. And you and I both know it. I don't care if his blocker is that girl from the U.S. rugby team. You know what I mean?
They need to sign her to play running back.
Damn right. I'd pay to watch that. She's sitting there trucking half in Australia. That was one of the coolest things I've ever seen. All right, last topic here on Cowboys Overtime, because we are going to talk about the Olympics.
Are we?
Yes, we are. I know you were a ringhead because your beautiful young daughter was a state champion in gymnastics before she retired. And you were watching the Olympics yesterday, watched the men's team come from behind to finish third, thanks to a nerd from Penn State who does one thing well, and he crushed it to bring America a third-place medal in men's gymnastics, the first time in 16 years. What is or what are your favorite Olympic sports to watch? And don't say basketball. Like, give me the weird sports that we never watch, but for once every 4 years.
I'm sorry. My favorite sport is track.
Yeah, that's right.
My favorite sport is 100 meters. Okay, come on. It's what it is. You can say in the winter, I guess it's curling in the Winter Olympics, maybe bobsled. I don't think there's not a weird sport in the Summer Olympics for me. I mean, badminton, maybe, I guess the badminton.
Have you listened to Snoop Dogg? Have you listened to Snoop Dogg called badminton?
No, I haven't. But I mean,
outstanding.
Badminton is crazy. Table tennis, I guess, is crazy, and stuff like that. I guess the weird sport for me this year, break dancing. They're break dancing in the Olympics. Did you not know that?
I knew it had been on the table for a while, but I had not seen it. I didn't know this was the year they put it in. No, but
break dancing, maybe some synchronized swimming, that kind of.
Yeah, my daughter's been fascinated by the synchronized swimming. I like the guy in the low meter dive and the 3 meter, I guess whatever it was, the springboard, and he didn't. I think he was a diver from Japan.
That's when you lie on your resume. Hey, I can dive. I got experience diving. You lie on your resume to get the job, and then you realize, oh, I can't do this.
I can't dive. I'm all in for women's rugby. I'd never seen it before. I've obviously watched rugby before, but watching the USA women, especially that one from Washington, kick the living hell out of Australia by herself, sign me up. I'm all in on that one, and that's who I want to see the Cowboys sign. Okay, Clarence, tell me what the weather is in Oxnard and Ventura before we finish up here and I go cry in 100-degree heat.
I mean, I don't keep up with weather. What are you talking about? I mean, it's 63 right now, 63 degrees, 63. Oh, it's just up to 60. The high today will be 75, and the low will be 53. You know how cold it gets at night? I have to put some clothes on, man. It gets cold. My bones get cold at night. That
Your
cool
bones
breeze,
get cold at night because you're old.
that cool breeze coming through. It gets cold at night. Cold. Brrr, brrr,
Candy, do
brrr,
me a favor. Let's just not do
brrr.
this next week. All right. Thank you. Have a great time out in California. For all your Cowboys coverage needs, be sure to follow our guy, Clarence E. Hill Jr., who is in Oxnard in these subarctic temperatures while I'm back here living it up at 125 degree at night. Thanks, Candy. Thank you all. Thanks, Nation.